Good morning, junior students, morning classes. Um, for today's lecture, this is Dr. Amir Latif Jabba, your instructor of Elizabethan drama. For today's lecture, we are to deal with the third part of in which we'll try to end up with this scene to make a roundup, quick one, and of course to try to end up with the explication and analysis, literary analysis, in fact, of all the major events and notions and ideas, beliefs whatsoever that are mentioned by William Shakespeare in this scene two of Act Two. Then we stopped in the previous lecture with the conversation and the meeting between Hamlet and his childhood friends who are proven to be not true friends, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. For today, we are now to move to a further step and phase in the development of this scene, in which Hamlet will again have a meeting with childhood friends. But now, these friends are another type of friends, okay? They are a group or a troupe, in fact, of actors, okay? Those actors seem to be personal friends to Hamlet himself. He knows them from his childhood and he knows them from a long period of time ago. So, after all the tension that has been split out, in fact, and poured by Shakespeare in this scene, now he will introduce to us a certain theatrical relief, in fact. This theatrical relief will start when Rosencrantz tells Hamlet that a traveling troupe of players is on its way to the court. We will learn here that Hamlet enjoys theater and is a devotee, in fact, of drama, which is something new that we know about Hamlet in this scene. As Hamlet discusses the player's arrival, he begins to lose his melancholy. And of course, all the audience will start also losing their anxiety and, let's say, the great sense of suspense they were living in because of all the serious and tragic events they have witnessed in the previous scenes and at the beginning of the other parts of this scene. So, now, Hamlet, as well as the audience, will let's say will lose their melancholy and show interest in something other than his own problems. He shows, I mean, Hamlet, a genuine pleasure in seeing the players, and he obviously knows them personally. So it seems, as I said, that they are personal friends of Hamlet himself. This is new information about Hamlet's personality, and the insight tells us something about the man he used to be. From other references in the play, from the other scenes and acts, the previous ones and all the coming ones, even let's just stick to the previous scenes and acts that we dealt with. We have none about Hamlet that we can deduce about him. We can infer and confer that Hamlet is a lover, is a scholar, a quick wit, a witty person, witty character, a knowledgeable character, in fact, and also a loyal son and friend. Now we add a new information and a new characteristic feature to his personality, which is now we see that he is also a patron, a lover, a person who is fond of the theater. The anticipation of the players brings relief, in fact, from the strained conversation between Hamlet and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Now, they exchange dialogue on a neutral, mutual, reciprocal grounds with Hamlet, conversation that is easy and distantly friendly, not like the conversation that was previously done between Hamlet and his supposedly childhood friends, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Now, this is a more friendly conversation. It is done at ease, and it is distantly, friendly and really an enjoyable one. I mean, between Hamlet and the players, those who come to act, the actors. Let's call them the actors. Hamlet asked Rosencrantz why the players are traveling. Rosencrantz answer reflects. Now, this is as if the question comes from the part of Shakespeare, not only Hamlet. Shakespeare is asking all the audience, all the theater goers during the Elizabethan time, just like Hamlet here is asking Rosencrantz of the reason and the cause behind the traveling of these actors. Because now Shakespeare is driving us to, and in fact, he is heading towards pointing and pinpointing, in fact, to a real problem occurring at the time let's say, when Shakespeare wrote Hamlet. That problem is the establishment and popularity of children's acting companies. These acting tropes and companies, groups, let's say, created significant competition for adult companies. And of course, you know that Shakespeare himself is one of the owners of these adult companies, the Globe Theatre. Okay, so these, let's say, children who are or young persons, let's say, who are traveling actors, traveling tropes, traveling groups, they really form a certain aspect of competition to Shakespeare and all the other, let's say, adult companies of acting and theater. So the popularity of children's companies undermined, in fact, the security of the adult players, who often took their performances on the road in order to make money. The players enter and Hamlet welcomes them warmly. Polonius then hears their arrival and comes to join the group. Hamlet, we will learn then, Hamlet will resume his antic disposition. He will resume and he will come back to his feigned or pretended behavior and deeds and actions of madness, okay? Because now it seems that he had forgotten to act madly about for a short time with the entrance of the players. So now Polonius is here, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern also are at the scene. So it seems that Hamlet has forgotten for a short period and span of time to act in a mad way and in a queer, let's say, odd behavior. So that is why he will come back to his antic disposition and his feigned behavior of madness. He now Hamlet points Polonius out to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern as a doddering old man is in his second childhood. Now, again, Hamlet will come back, in fact, to insult. Whenever he has a chance, he will directly insult that Polonius, the father who was really the reason behind the ending love between him and Ophelia. So whenever there is a chance for Hamlet, he will seize it, and he will spare no chance to insulting Polonius, the old man. Now he called Polonius in front of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to be an old man in his second childhood. So he's no more than a child in front of Hamlet, and according to Hamlet. Then this insult now that escapes Polonius entirely. Okay, he said also, as you see here in the red color, I highlighted this to you. He called Polonius. He speaks to him while saying "buzz, buzz," and this "buzz, buzz" is a way that was so let's say famous during the time of Shakespeare. It was a sentence which means, if we translate this into a sentence, a full sentence, it means, why don't you tell us something we don't know? Why don't you tell us something new? And this is a phrase or statement or sentence in which it is just shortened as buzz buzz, okay? It was a phrase that was part of an old Oxford tradition. It was a tradition during the time of Shakespeare, the Elizabethan time. This phrase was so common during the time of Shakespeare at Oxford University. So then the reference to Rocious, now Hamlet will move from the insults, from the talks to the players, and from the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and from the insults that are directed towards Polonius, to refer in a historical and literary allusion at the same time to Rocious, the Roman character in this line, okay, as you see here. Then if you just come back a little, we will see that Hamlet is making a reference. In fact, Shakespeare is making an literary and historical allusion or reference, you know, to Rocious. Hamlet now is speaking about Rocious. He was an actor in Rome, as you see here. Rocious was an actor in Rome, a Roman actor, okay, which is another job at Polonius' tendency to over-define all of his points. So let's say the significant allusion, or the significance even behind this allusion and this reference made from the part of Hamlet, is to make a comparison between Rocious, who is also a man who wants to show himself as an important person and who is always using, delineating long sentences with full of, let's say, rhetorical questions and rhetorical devices. So Hamlet here, by referring to, in this allusion to Rocious, he wants to make a clear-cut comparison between his style, his, let's say, hated style, in fact, and the hated style of Polonius in his speeches. So the story of Roscius was old news, just like the old news of Polonius. That is why now Hamlet will tell Polonius, "Buzz, buzz," or cannot you tell us something new or something that we don't know? Don't be just like Roscius in just carrying all the news and nothing new at all. Okay, so by referring to Roscius, Hamlet calls attention to Polonius's stale message. Okay, so our old message, let's say. Then Hamlet, then after that, will make another allusion. Okay, this allusion now is, let's say, first. This allusion is a religious allusion. It's a, let's say, a Christian allusion. Okay, this allusion now will refer to, this religious allusion will refer to Jephthah. Okay, this is the name is in front of you, is Jephthah. Okay, and that Jephthah is a character from scripture who sacrificed, of course, we said many times before, I told you that when there was a reference, when there is any type of the four types of allusions that we talked about, okay, and defined them, in the lectures before. So whenever there is an allusion used by any of the characters in the play, in the drama, so we have to know the story behind this allusion, of course, and then what is insignificant, what is important, what is focal and pivotal is to link, to find out, to figure out this link that is between the real story of the allusion and one, or let's say more than one of the characters inside of this play. So you have seen just the previous example with Roscius, okay, the literary and historical allusion made by Hamlet to make a comparison and to criticize more, to criticize Polonius in making a comparison between his stale, let's say, news, all the news, and his long speeches that are full of rhetorics, hated ones, okay, let's say childhood ones, and the same speeches of and the same news, all the news that are carried out by Roscius. So in this second allusion, in this part of the scene of scene 2, act 2, also now Hamlet will make a religious allusion and reference to Jephthah. That Jephthah is a judge of Israel, as you see here. Then he had a treasure. So that now, if the allusion between the first allusion that was mentioned before, according to Hamlet, in making a comparison between Roscius and Polonius, that was to make a similarity, to say that Polonius is similar to Roscius and Roscius' style is similar to Polonius's. Okay, here this allusion is made by Hamlet to make a comparison. It's made to make to let's say to highlight the difference, not the similarity, the difference and disparity between this Jephthah, okay, and Polonius, of the personality of Polonius. So Jephthah is a character, as we said, from the scripture. That Jephthah, his story is he sacrificed his daughter because she wept for her virginity. Okay, then Jephthah was the opposite exactly of a fishmonger. As you remember before in the previous part of the scene, we said that Hamlet, in a very direct and clear-cut insult, a crystal clear insult to Polonius, he called him a fishmonger, and a fishmonger is a pun which has double meaning. Okay, is a twofold, let's say, expression in which on the first meaning it means just a man who sells fish, while on the hidden meaning that is intended by Hamlet, it means that this is a very bad, let's say, an unchaste man who sells the virginity and the let's say the chastity of and the virtue of his daughter. Okay, so on the contrary to that fishmonger, we have this character Jephthah who sacrificed his daughter, and he sacrificed his daughter's life because just she wept for her virginity. Okay, so Hamlet quotes from Jephthah, judge of Israel. Here, as you see, he will bring this quote from Jephthah. This quote is mentioned and said by Jephthah, in which he said, "One fair daughter and no more, the which he loved passing well." So this, let's say, soliloquy, or let's say, so this quotation, that's in fact a quotation which is brought from Jephthah, the judge of Israel, is a popular ballad during the time of Shakespeare. It was made as a song in the time of Shakespeare and the Elizabethan time. So the connection to Polonius is inescapable and, of course, inevitable. No one can escape and evade this, let's say, contrariness between the character of the chaste Jephthah and, of course, the character of the unchaste Polonius. who is, of course, why is that? Because Polonius is misusing his daughter for his needs and means, while, of course, this Jephthah has sacrificed his own daughter for the sake of chastity and virginity. Okay, so now we will come to the meeting between Hamlet and the troupe or the group of the players. And this, you will learn, please, students, that the exchange with Polonius mercifully ends with the re-entry of the players. So they came back again to meet with Hamlet. Hamlet's interest in the troupe is clear. Now you will notice that the players know Hamlet, and their dialogue with him is easy and familiar. And also you will see that Hamlet greets, when you read the meeting between Hamlet and the players in this scene, please, third year students, you will also please notice that Hamlet greets a boy actor with the hope that his voice has not changed. So he addresses this actor and he greets this boy actor, and he, let's say advises him not to make his voice to change. Okay, this is an instruction from Shakespeare and an instruction from Hamlet to this boy, not to let his voice to change while he is acting. So this phrase, okay, in which you will see here, in the let's say in the script or the text of this scene, Hamlet told that boy, "Be not cracked with the ring." Okay, "Be not cracked with the ring" is a reference, in fact, to the society during that time, because during the Elizabethan time, okay, this phrase refers to coins, okay, the money coins. Okay, so before milled coins were common at our time, for example, or even at that time before that, coins were often cut, or let's say cracked, as Hamlet has mentioned here in front of you, this word cracked or cut. Okay, so the coins were cracked or cut for their metal. So this renders them to be worthless. Okay, so here in this script, here in this scene, Hamlet puns. He also now plays on the word a crack or cut. Okay, so Hamlet puns on the phrase to indicate that if the boy's voice is cracked, it will lose its value, just like the money loses its value when it is cracked or cut. Okay, so this is now really is a reference to the time of Shakespeare, because during the time of Shakespeare, this refers to acting, to the theater, let's say, goers, and to the, let's say, theater customs and conventions and traditions during the time of Shakespeare, because during that time young boys played female roles. Okay, so the boys, of course, you know that I told you before that women were prohibited, were not allowed to be actors during the time of Shakespeare. Okay, so young boys played female roles, female personality, and female characters. Okay, so they played these female roles on stage at that time because women were barred and were banned and were prohibited, were, let's say, not allowed for in performing as a matter of legal and moral principle. So legally and morally, it was prohibited for women to be actors during the time of Shakespeare. So then actresses did not appear, women actors, I mean, actresses did not appear on the public stage until after the restoration of Charles II to the English throne only in 1660. So 1660, after the restoration period of time, it was the first period, it was the first chance for women to be having the role of actors on stages. Okay, so that is why during the Elizabethan time, when a boy's voice changed, of course, if his voice will change, the audience will know that this is a boy and this is not a girl, this is not a woman. So if the voice of that boy actor changes, his career usually ended. Okay, so he is a failure character, a failure, let's say, actor, and there, of course, therefore his career will end. So only a few went on to perform the adult male roles. Okay, so then also, we will learn in this scene that Hamlet tells the players that he has heard a reading of a play, and he judged this play to be suitable for this company. Okay, so he remembers and recites 30 lines of this play by heart to the admiration of his audience. Okay, now also Hamlet will refer in a third allusion in this part of the scene of scene 2 of Act 2, and this, let's say, allusion now is a literary one, a literary allusion. Okay, that is an extra that is taken from another, let's say, type, a sort or text of literature. So this illusion is the Pyrrhus speech, okay? As you see here in the red color, all this speech is said by a literary character whose name is Pyrrhus, okay? So this Pyrrhus speech now is a reminiscent of the writings of Christopher Marlowe. And you know, I told you many times before in the lectures, okay, before the quarantine and before because of the COVID-19 pandemic, I told you in the lectures when we were in the college, I told you that the greatest competitor of Shakespeare is Christopher Marlowe. Okay, they have nearly the same style, so they were competing between each other. So then uh, Shakespeare will make Hamlet to bring a play or to bring this quotation, this speech that is said by Pyrrhus, and this speech is in fact a reminiscence of one of the plays that were composed and written and authored by his rival, by his competitor, who is Christopher Marlowe. Okay, so um, of course later on we will learn and we'll see what the reason and the cause behind this. Okay. So then you will notice that this speech now plays, I mean, now Christopher Marlowe's plays were staged at the Rose Theatre, while the plays of Shakespeare were performed, as you know, in the Globe Theatre. So these were really competing between each other, the Rose Theatre and the Globe Theatre. So the Globe Theatre was presenting the plays of Shakespeare as a competition, in fact. The Rose Theatre, to compete with the Globe Theatre, started to perform and to act the plays that were written by Christopher Marlowe. So Marlowe's play, which is entitled Dido, the Queen of Carthage, though not containing a passage exactly like this one that is uttered here as said by Hamlet, nevertheless, it resonates with the speech of Hamlet, the speech that really Hamlet makes here. Okay, so the language here is not unlike early Shakespeare. Okay, it's similar to the language of the young Shakespeare while he was an amateur, while he was not that, let's say, professional writer at the beginning of his career. So this language here in the red color is similar somehow to the language of the early young Shakespeare, but it is very alike and very similar to the Shakespeare that Shakespeare of 1600, while now he is now a very professional writer, playwright, and let's say author when his revision was staged. So the speech is bombastic. Now this is the reason why, of course, now you know I want to refer to this idea. Now, if I am Shakespeare now, if now I have a competitor who is really competing with me, whose name is Christopher Marlowe. So why do you think that I will bring a quotation or a speech from a play that is written by the one I am competing with or the one who is competing with me? Okay, so definitely, do you think that Shakespeare wrote this speech from his competitor Christopher Marlowe to let's say to praise him as a good and a great writer? Definitely, of course, this is not the aim of Shakespeare. The real cause and aim of Shakespeare, the real cause and reason behind this bringing of this speech from Dido, the Queen of Carthage, that is a play written by Christopher Marlowe, the major competitor of William Shakespeare, is really made in this way. Now, this speech is made by Shakespeare to be bombastic and the rhythm to be stiff, then make it sound staged and unnatural. And so this is why he wanted to refer to the idea that Christopher Marlowe was not that great writer, that not that great competitor of him. So he brought this speech and he, let's say, he manipulated this speech. He changed and shifted things in this speech to make it appear just like unnatural, to be staged and to be appearing for the audience as something that is prepared. Okay, that is not something let's say spontaneous. Okay, not that really stage speech that is full of emotions, but it is made by Shakespeare here to be ready-made, to be prepared, and to be bombastic. The rhythm is stiff, so naturally to be something, or original to be something unnatural, as unnatural speech. So to make fun of this style, Shakespeare may mean for the players in this scene to collectively represent a caricature, in fact, of Marlowe's company. Okay, so this is the real aim. He wants to make fun of and to criticize, let's not say it to make fun, to criticize this style of Marlowe, and also if not to criticize Marlowe himself, but He wants these players in the play within a play here that will be acted by these players to be criticized by the characters and this trope of the players in which he makes this speech to be just a caricature of the company of Marlowe's players, okay, which is of course coming with the name. I mean the group, the trope of Marlowe's company has a name which is Lord Admiral's Men. So obviously then the story of Pyrrhus parallels and equals and is similar to Hamlet's dilemma to some extent, to some degree. A state has, okay, the story of that is brought here and the quotation in this speech of Pyrrhus, there is in which a state has collapsed after the death of its king, which is something somehow similar to a certain degree and extent to what is happening in Denmark. Then, but unlike Gertrude, the mother of Hamlet, the queen in the play, within a play, in this speech, the queen is faithful to the memory of her husband. So even Polonius, the foolish person, the foolish character cannot help but notice the emotional impact of this speech. Okay. Then after the end of the meeting, between Hamlet and the players. Well, let's move quickly to the last part of this scene, in fact, in which we will have Hamlet alone. And of course, whenever Hamlet alone, we know that he will perform a soliloquy. So this is the soliloquy number 3 or the third soliloquy in the play that is uttered and stated by Hamlet. You remember, to refresh your minds and to refresh your memories, I will tell you that the first soliloquy of Hamlet was a soliloquy of depression and sadness, and the second soliloquy was a soliloquy of anger and a soliloquy of, let's say, swears and vows and, let's say, promises to have revenge, and a soliloquy of cursing his uncle, let's say, Claudius. Okay, so the first soliloquy generally was a soliloquy of depression and sadness, while the second soliloquy was a soliloquy of anger. So let's move to the third soliloquy to figure out what type of soliloquy is this and what Hamlet will mention importantly and significantly in this quotation. Now, after the play's exit and Hamlet, after reminding Polonius to treat the players well, Hamlet dismisses the old man, Polonius, and then he dismisses also his two older friends, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Then he is now alone. While he is alone, he reveals his thoughts once more in a soliloquy. This well-known soliloquy, which is one of the most powerful soliloquies in the play, and one of the most important, and let's say one of the most significant, one of the most famous soliloquies in the course of the history of English literature, not only in this play. This well-known soliloquy now, the third one, as we said in this play, we will learn that we will have here from Hamlet. This soliloquy will be full of reproach and his failure to act on the revenge he promised his father in the second soliloquy. So the first soliloquy generally, as we said before, is a soliloquy of depression and of sadness. The second soliloquy was a soliloquy of vows, of promises. So it was a soliloquy of anger, of great anger. And this third soliloquy is a soliloquy of reproach. So, Hamlet is rebuking himself because he thinks that he is now a failure. He failed to act on the revenge he promised his father in the second soliloquy. So Hamlet, he accuses himself of cowardice. He speaks of his silence and villainy, and he is filled now with self-hate. He's now hating himself even. So he said, now he is rebuking himself, and he said, why I am just postponing, why I'm procrastinating this revenge. My father was a good man, so it was better for me to be now acting my revenge, and it must be for me now that I have ended, in fact, acting this act of revenge. Now, I promised my father. Okay, so now he started to even having this sense of self-hate, and he said to himself now in a clear sense of rebuking and reproach, he said, what an ass am I. This is most brave. Okay, so he is now blaming himself of not acting this act of revenge he promised his father in the second soliloquy. Okay, so now he tells himself that he had a good father who deserves a just revenge. Okay, so he says that only a bad woman could waste time with talk, and only the meanest maid, the meanest girl, the meanest woman would waste time in cursing fate. And these two things are the things that are done by Hamlet now. Okay, he is just wasting his time with talk. He's a man of talks and words, not of actions. He acted nothing up to this moment, in spite of all the vows and the swears and promises he made to his good late father, deceased and killed, murdered father. So he is a man of talk, and also he is doing the second leg of the let's say of the speech, which is he is just wasting time cursing fate. He curses fate. He curses his uncle in placing this burden on his shoulders on him. Okay, and also he is just spending and wasting his time with talks and no actions. So the time for action is now, according to Hamlet. Why is that? Because Hamlet has an idea. The players, this idea is of course is having to do with the players, with the actors who just arrived here. Okay, so, according to Hamlet, the player's recent speech moved him deeply. So, Hamlet knows that plays, dramas can often reach into the soul of the audience and draw out a response where none was expected. So, Hamlet now marvels at the force of imagination that can really produce real emotion from a make-believe. So he will have a plan, and he will make a pact or an agreement or a deal with the actors to act a certain type of a play that he himself heard and prepared for them. Okay, he manipulated the text. He changed some of the statements and the sentences and quotations of the text of the play to make it to suit the plan he is having in his mind. So this pact with or agreement or deal now with the actors, now Hamlet will see this as a chance to figure out really the truth behind this. So then Hamlet recognizes that the theater can help him. This play, which is of course a play within a play. Never forget this statement, please, or this phrase. A play within a play. Now he will act a play inside of the play, which is Hamlet in, itself. Okay, so this play within a play, according to Hamlet, can help him to expose the king's conscience. And in doing so, he will be able, I mean, Hamlet will be able to verify, to make sure what the ghost has told him. So Hamlet believes that with the proof of Claudius's guilty conscience, he will be able to act. So even after all that has happened in the course of the play, Hamlet is up to this moment. We notice here in this scene that Hamlet is still not completely convinced. He is up to this moment not ultimately, not utterly persuaded that the spirit was his father. Okay, he is not convinced yet up to this moment that the spirit was the father of his spirit, that it spoke the truth, and he is not even fully convinced up to this moment that the ghost of his father is not the ghost of his father. And up to this moment, he is suspicious that it spoke the truth, and that also he is suspicious that revenge, the revenge he seeks is a valid or real one. So, or a true one, let us say. So Hamlet is up to this moment, he fears he may be a victim of Satan's handiwork. He, up to this moment, he thinks that maybe this is Satan, this is not the ghost of his father, so he is playing a plan against him to make him to kill his uncle Claudius and to behave badly to his mother. So, of course, this is not something easily done, okay? To kill a king during that time is not something easily done, okay? So Hamlet knows this fact, and Hamlet knows he must make Claudius reveal his guilt, okay? So without the revelation from the part of Claudius, Hamlet will be able to do nothing, because accusing a current king of murder is a serious business, is really a very tough business, okay? No one will believe Hamlet in what he says, okay? So also, and enacting revenge against him, I mean against the king, against Claudius, may have dire and serious consequences for the state of Denmark itself, okay? So these factors have caused Hamlet's hesitation and procrastination up to this moment. Now, Hamlet believes that he has found a way out. He has found a way. He has found a way to justify his mission of revenge. What is this way? It is his plan. What is this way? It is the play within a play in which he will make the characters, the actors, to play this play within a play, and then he will just sit and he will notice the let's say the behavior and the let's say the deeds of his uncle Claudius. So according to the behavior of Claudius, he will then Hamlet will have the chance to make sure that the ghost was a real ghost and it was the ghost of his father. It was not Satan, and also that now revenge is really just and must be done from the part of Hamlet. So Hamlet now has a good reason to reproach himself for his hesitation. The ghost appeared to him some long time ago, and he has done nothing up to this moment. He has done nothing in the way of formulating a plan of action against Claudius, the killer, the murderer of his father. Until the arrival of the players, he could not think past, he could not think what he had heard on the castle battlements. Now it is time for Hamlet. Now Hamlet has found a way to seize and to ease his own conscience by trapping the conscience of the king, as he mentioned here in the last sentence of this scene, in the last sentence of this act, where he said that it is now his chance. Now he has now only he has the chance only now, and now he is having this way out of this, let us say, dilemma, and now he is having found a way to ease his own consciousness and to stop reproaching himself, to stop reproaching, let us say, his own conscience by catching. So just like a plan, he's hunting Claudius now. So he will ease and he will have a peace of mind only when he will be able to catch the conscious of the consciousness or the conscience of the king Claudius. So by now having the, let's say, the conscience of the king to be caught, now Hamlet will be having the chance to have a certain state of mind peace and to stop reproaching and rebuking himself, and also to stop all this postponement and all this procrastination, and to act on the promises he has given to his father, the promises of revenge and the putting the really the just revenge against his uncle Claudius, the murderer and the killer of his father. So my question for you today, to be answered on the Google Classroom: do you think that Hamlet's plan is, let's say, is a powerful one? Do you think that Hamlet's plan will work against Claudius? Okay, so please state your thoughts, your anticipations, your expectations, your answers on the Google Classroom in answering this question. This is the end now of Scene 2, Act 2. I hope that you enjoyed, and really thank you for your attention and for your listening. So thank you very much, and meeting with you, inshallah, with the coming acts and with the coming scenes in future lectures. Stay safe, please, and goodbye.